Good afternoon, members, and welcome to this meeting of the Provost Subcommittee. This is our first of this council session, and we're going to start with item 1. Are there any apologies? There are no apologies. All members are here, present and in the chamber. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Do members have any items of interest to clear in today's business? No. Thank you. Item 3 is the minute of the meeting of the Provost Subcommittee of the 14th of August 2019. And the only councillor that was present at that was the Deputy Provost. So can you confirm that as an accurate reflection of the meeting?
As far as memory serves, I'm happy to yes, accept those minutes. Certainly, I do remember discussing the Bydgoszcz training visit. So yes.
Great. Thank you very much. So we can agree those as an accurate record. Item 4 is the proposed celebrations to mark the 25th twinning anniversary between Perth and Bydgoszcz. And Scott Hendry, the Acting Democratic Services Manager, is going to just speak to the report.
Thank you, Provost. Members, before us today we have proposals in relation to the 25th twinning anniversary this year between Perth and Bydgoszcz. Similar to previous twinning anniversaries, we're proposing to agree to invite representatives from Bydgoszcz to Perth for a series of events in the weekend of the 8th to the 12th of June, with the full programme being worked up with the Friends of Bydgoszcz group and the local Polish community. I'm happy to take any questions on the report, and my colleagues Michelle and Stuart are here as well to also take any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Bailey.
Thank you, Provost. Just a quick question. I saw in the minute there was discussion before COVID in the last term about a visit. Did that visit go ahead or not go ahead? Did it get caught out by COVID? So just that quick question.
No, I think, as I say, that it didn't go ahead due to that specific reason.
Any other questions from members? Bailey Williamson.
When will we get details of the financial funding it's going to be applied for, and when will we know whether it's been successful?
So I think, as the report states, there's looking at a number of options, including potential sponsorship that the communities team are looking at as well. So once those potential costs have worked up, we'll then report back just as soon as we can to the Provost Subcommittee.
Thank you. Any other questions? Billy McLaren.
Yes, thank you. My question was really just sort of around the expansion of external funding question or funding sources. So I would say you've probably said, you know, that's yet to be defined. So thank you.
Okay, just on the external funding, I think we're quite, as members all will be conscious that the council is facing significant financial pressures, and this is part of our drive in the civic team to try and enhance the amount of support that we get from within the community and from businesses within the community to support some of the civic activities and reduce the pressure on the public purse, which I'm sure we're all in favour of. And I think that very much my hope is that we will see partners step forward to help support what is very important for Perth and Kinross in terms of our twinning links and communities, and the communities that are very much passionate about those twinning links. And I think that's part of what we've tried to cover within this report, and specifically within the proposals for this year around Perth and Bydgoszcz to celebrate a lot of the Polish community that are here in Perth and Kinross, and to have those very significant celebrations around a celebration of our Polish links over that weekend when the Mela would traditionally be on anyway. So hopefully if there is a visit from the Mayor of Bydgoszcz, that will coincide with that weekend. But it would be a good opportunity for our links to be celebrated, not just in Perth, but actually across Perth and Kinross, because we obviously have a sizable Polish community across Perth and Kinross. I'm not seeing any other questions from members, so I'm just going to then move the report. So we are agreeing today, members, to agree in principle that we'll have a visit, a twinning celebration weekend from the 8th to 12th of June to mark the anniversary, and that we will extend our invitation to the Mayor of Bydgoszcz and a delegation for that weekend, and that we will agree to accept a formal invitation from Bydgoszcz if there is a reciprocal invitation for myself, Bailey Bailey, the Chief Executive and the Council Officer, for that visit, and that we will agree to seek external funding towards the celebrations on the 8th to 12th of June, and the detailed costs the Council and funding sought will be reported back to a future Provost subcommittee. I'm going to invite Bailey Bailey as the Bydgoszcz lead to second the report.
Yes, very happy to second this report. Thank you, Provost. I think I was reassured when I came into this role by the level of support there is both sides of this relationship with the twinning associations, with the relationship with Bydgoszcz. It's great because this is us as a council enabling links that already exist within the community, and that's what we have to do. I think as well that short of being able to establish a twinning relationship with a Ukrainian city at this time, I think this is one of the strong ways in which we can show solidarity with the people of Poland in the assistance and help they're giving to the displaced people from Ukraine. So for me, actually, I think those are the two reasons why this is something very much it's worthwhile investing the public pound in or seeking external funding, as you mentioned, because for one thing, it's solidarity with Ukraine and the people of Poland who are helping those people. For another thing, we have such strong links and such a strong Polish population here in Perth, and I've seen them at the Wells Hill War Memorial events, and they do put on a good show, so it's worthwhile us reinforcing that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bailey Bailey, and I think very much the discussions have been also ensuring that there is a celebration of our links with Ukraine as part of the weekend, recognising the huge amount of support that Poland is putting into Ukraine at this moment in time, along with the United Kingdom. Are there any other comments on the report? No, are we all happy to agree the report? Thank you. Item 5, members, is the Civic Activities and Forward Planning report, and this will be presented by the Acting Democratic Services Manager.
Thank you, Provost. The report is a summary of activities since the local government elections in May last year, and it also highlights current forward planning in a number of areas such as twinning, civic receptions, as well as future events. As the report states, staff have already been working towards making changes to ways of working, reviewing processes and making efficiencies where possible, whilst maintaining a civic presence, and this will be the subject of more detailed reports back to this committee in the future. Again, happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hendry. Are there any questions on the report from members? Bailey Williamson.
Yes, on 7.3, it's proposed to consolidate the twinning budget expenditure, and I was just wondering what level of funding is that sat at the moment, the budget for twinning? Oops.
Yeah, I think as you say, what we're planning to do is to bring back proposals to you in terms of how we would be allocating expenditure throughout the year. In terms of the kind of specific budget figures, I'm happy to kind of circulate that to members of the committee for information.
I think from memory it's sitting at about 6,000. It was previously budgeted about 6,750. Roughly, it was 750 to each of the twinned groups that Perth is twinned with, although not all of them have been accessing and using it, so it is in that ballpark. But what we are looking to do is consolidate that into one twinning fund, basically, and depending on the needs of twinning groups across Perth and Kinross, they will be able to bid in for support. So, for example, this year where we have the significant events around our Polish twinning, then they would be able to bid in for that, and it would be at different levels depending on what they're proposing, and then this subcommittee or others could consider what that looks like. So we'll bring back a more detailed report on that, but I think it's part of the drive to also open up and support a lot of the smaller twinnings that exist across Perth and Kinross, and allow them to get a more formalised access into the funding and support arrangements. Aileen Clarn.
Thank you, Provost. Just a general sort of question with regard to item 6, civic car. Is there sort of a timescale that envisaged to deliver this replacement vehicle by?
Yes, so we had last summer, we did quite a bit of investigation into the civic vehicle, and we trialled a number of different options. From the trialling of those options, we did rest on a modified sort of Ford Transit 9-seater, which doesn't sound very glamorous, but it is very practical, and that is one of the key things from our point of view, that we want something that's more environmentally friendly, so it was a hybrid, but we also wanted something that could be more practical for carrying large groups around. So if we've got a civic delegation, for example, we would be able to, for example, in June, take everyone round in one vehicle as opposed to requiring multiple vehicles or having to hire, as we currently do, minibuses, etc., to support that. Obviously the vehicle is also used for supporting civic events, so they're transferring stuff from the cash and carry, or glasses, chairs, whatever it may be. I think there's even been barriers in the back of it. So, a more practical vehicle for such purposes, and it would be very much in the environmentally friendly. It's been looked at in detail at the moment, and a fully electric vehicle wouldn't be practical for some of the distance and duties and the areas that it's going to, but a hybrid is much more appropriate, and given the current what could be politely described as gas guzzler, it will be a significant reduction in emissions from the replacement. At the moment, unfortunately, the car that we had selected has just been taken out of production ahead of the replacing it, so we are trying to understand whether we'll be able to buy perhaps an ex-demo or a second-hand version of that, or whether we will have to wait. So we are officers are investigating that at the moment, but we have arrived on what we think is a much more practical solution that will be available for a wider use of purposes.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a further question on the car. What's happening with the number plate? Is that just going to get transferred to the new vehicle?
At the moment, that will be transferred to the new vehicle unless the council decides otherwise. So it would be open for the council to decide to do something else with the number plate if it so wished.
You didn't specify what else, but my understanding is that's being gifted to the council, so it's not in our gift to do anything with it in terms of other than use it.
I'm not aware of the terms of its original, whether it was purchased or what, so I'll happily let Scott answer.
Switch microphone. Yeah, I think as we've said in the report, your Provost mentioned one of the options we looked at was the purchase of another vehicle. I think another option that we've been considering is the council has a number of pool cars as managed by its fleet service, and we're looking at whether that could be a further option in terms of a multi-purpose vehicle, again, in terms of trying to save costs, make most use of resources that we can as possible. So yeah, there's a number of options that we're looking at. Obviously, if there was a situation with the current car and the number plate, then we'd have to make a decision as to how that would work going forward. My understanding is, yeah, that it's it was gifted to the council, so it would be up to the council to decide going forward.
Any other questions from members? Yeah, I'll come to comments then. Deputy Provost.
Thank you. Yes, with regard to ES1, I'm conscious that other authorities in other places have sought to capitalise on them. I'm not suggesting that we do that, merely to point out the pragmatics that when the Provost is representing the community or others here are, people are often looking out for a vehicle arriving and they look for ES1 and they know it's coming. Now, that's not an overriding concern, but it does actually help sometimes the people who are expecting the Provost or whoever is representing the council to arrive. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Provost. I think it's also just worth mentioning that we won't be replacing things like the attachments that hold flags and stuff, and haven't been using things like that for quite a while, and there is quite a significant cost in those sorts of things. So we are looking at every opportunity to reduce any costs and to make it a more environmentally friendly option, as previously indicated. So that is the ambition there. If there are no other questions, I will move the report. So very happy to move the planning report for the coming period and immediate past period since the election. It does note that we've reintroduced the Baileys, and I hope that the 5 Baileys sitting here would agree that that's been a good success and is working well. It certainly is from my point of view, and I think from the staff's point of view as well. It has allowed us to attend a lot more engagements than we would otherwise have been able to, and that has been very valuable to our communities and been very strongly welcomed. There has been, for example, evenings where we've received 5 invitations and been able to accept all 5 as a result, and that is quite helpful and beneficial. It has also not stopped the wider use of councillors to support civic activities, and we have been making a strong drive to involve councillors across the entire council in civic life. As has been mentioned, the civic car is being investigated for replacement for a more practical and environmentally friendly one. We are very passionate about our twinning relationships, and a number of you are already involved heavily in some of those twinning relationships, and I'm sure some of you will become more involved over the coming years, and we are looking at how best to support those groups, including new processes for funding applications, but also perhaps opportunities around having a wider network of twinning groups supporting each other as well with some of their engagements. We have also, and haven't discussed this much during questioning, but are looking at options around how we will reform civic receptions and hospitality, recognising again the importance of reducing the cost to the taxpayer, but also welcoming and celebrating important aspects of civic life across Perth and Kinross and achievements by our communities and residents. And it has noted in the report the forward planning of significant events that we are anticipating, including some very significant twinning anniversaries, including our 70th twinning anniversary with Perth and Aschaffenburg in a few years' time, which the Deputy Provost is leading on. It is my intention that we will have an annual communications report from Civic to detail for the wider elected members and the public the engagement levels that we have undertaken within the Civic office, and I hope that you will contribute to that when we are seeking contributions for it. Okay, I'm going to move the report and invite the Deputy Provost to second it.
I'm more than happy to formally second.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments from members? Bailey.
Just a very quick comment. I was reading the forward planning and significant civic events. I was actually reassured that the opening of the CETLR is not listed as a significant civic event, and I hope that's a bad omen for that project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bailey. Any other comments from members? No. Okay, are we happy to agree the report? Great, thank you very much. Members, item 6 is the proposed flags protocol for the council building at 2 High Street, Perth, and the report introduced by the Acting Democratic Services Manager.
Thank you, Provost. Given that a number of years have passed since the introduction of the flags that are currently situated on the 2 High Street building, and given the overall poor condition of a number of them, this report outlines a number of options for the council, as well as a recommended approach for going forward that takes account of both modern ways of acknowledging and celebrating events, as well as maintaining civic tradition and agreeing a policy that is similar to other government organisations. Again, happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from members? Deputy Provost.
Thank you. Not a question, but I would wish to raise an amendment, which I've discussed with some, and my apologies for not getting round to everybody, but I hope that this amendment might be accepted without division. We are a culturally diverse community with members of more than a few states living with us and amongst us. And I want to make the proposal that under AN other flags in the list here, that we progressively include flags of European neighbours and Commonwealth partners on their national days. I know that my own wife, who you all know is Lithuanian, takes great delight in the fact that the Lithuanian flag flies from the council building here, and I'm sure there are others who are similar. However, I recognise that there's a cost, and I would propose that we, in furtherance of this, invest in 6 flags per year going forwards. If they're only flown on a limited number of occasions, they will endure for more than a few years. And I would propose that the first flags that we invest in as new flags are those of the countries where we have twinning relationships. The first 6, therefore, might be Germany, France, Poland, Canada, China and Australia, and USA being on the list for the first flag for the second year. And thereafter, I don't think we need to agree now, but if people are agreed to this, we can present a list of how we intend to develop those flags later. To me, it comes with a modest cost, but to me it recognises very much that we are not an isolate, we are part of a wider community, and people from those many and diverse communities live amongst us, and to fly their national flag on their national day, and depending on what other flags are flying the day before that, the day after, I don't think we need to be absolutely prescriptive there. I think that is demonstrative of the values and standards that we hold in our community. Thank you. Can I have perhaps a formal seconder for that?
Can I formally move the motion first?
My apologies.
So I would like to, assuming that there are no questions on the report, which nobody's indicated, therefore I would like to formally move the recommendations in the report. Members will have had time to consider these, and I have written to all group leaders on the council to notify them that this paper was coming, and have not received anything to indicate any dissent on this matter. In my view, it is a pragmatic approach and a sensible one in the current fiscal climate that we're in. I am minded to incorporate what the Deputy Provost has indicated in my motion, subject to, instead of the first 6, including China, I would instead buy the Ukrainian flag as part of that, as part of the first 6. And therefore I am happy to move that as the motion and invite a seconder. Thank you, Bailey Williamson. Okay, Bailey Ahern.
Can I ask why you're picking out Haiku as a twinned town and not including that in it and choosing Ukraine instead?
Given the current situation in Ukraine, I think it's quite important that we are demonstrating our support for Ukraine outside of the council building. And from my point of view, that is more important that that's demonstrated at this moment in time when they're under occupation from a neighbouring country.
I understand that. Why don't you just include it as an additional flag instead of missing out one of our twin cities? Because they may well wonder why we've got 5 out of the 6 are chosen and not the other one. I'll be quite happy to include it as a 7th flag.
Well, I'm happy to do that. I would also point out that there are other countries, as the Deputy Provost indicated, that we are twinned with that we're not including as well, such as the United States in the first tranche. So it's not just China that we were talking about. There are quite a lot of countries that we're twinned with that we're not buying the flag of in the first year. And the Deputy Provost outlined one of the reasons for that was to keep costs under control and to buy it on a rolling basis and to build up our flags of our twinned nations first and then onto other countries as well. Deputy Provost, you want to come?
I recognise the concern. What is happening in Ukraine at the moment is despicable, to describe it simply. I am more than happy. I'm delighted that the Provost wants to incorporate this amendment into the motion. I am happy as part of that to accept that the Ukrainian flag is given a priority so that it can be flown in August this year, and that China and the USA are the lead flags for the next 6.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from members? No. Are we therefore happy to agree the paper, members? Great, thank you very much. Okay, members, that concludes today's business. Thank you very much for your attendance, and we look forward to seeing you at the next meeting of the Provost Subcommittee.